Welcome to Cajun Case Files. I'm your host, Britt LaFaso. Each week, we will take you deeper into a case here in Acadiana. We hope to give the voice to victims and their families and make sure their stories are heard and who they are is not forgotten. In some cases, you may be the missing link investigators need to solve a case. This week, we begin with the case of 15-year-old Quawan Charles from Baldwin, Louisiana.
KLFY uncovers and digs deeper into the untold stories of missing persons, strange disappearances, cold cases, and mysteries from the heart of Acadiana. This is Cajun Case Files, a KLFY Plus exclusive.
The case begins on Friday, October 30th, 2020. 15-year-old Quawan Charles is hanging out at his home in Baldwin, Louisiana. It's a small town of less than 5,000 people in St. Mary Parish. That Friday afternoon, he is home from high school and is in his room just hanging out. Or that's what his mom and stepdad, who he lives with, think. That evening, his mom, Roxanne, knocks on his door. There's no answer. She walks in his room and Quawan isn't there. Roxanne searches the rest of the house and it becomes clear to her that he is not home. But alarm bells do not start ringing until she speaks with everyone close to her son, and no one is with him. No one knows where he is. That is when Roxanne starts panicking. That Friday night, Roxanne heads to the Baldwin Police Department and says she wants to report her son missing. Baldwin police take the reports at 8:04 p.m., but Roxanne says police tell her, don't worry, it's a Friday night, there's a high school football game. Quawan is probably there having a good time with his friends. He will show up. Regardless, at 10:34 that same Friday night, Baldwin police put Quawan's name into a national database for missing people. Saturday morning rolls around. Roxanne says her son never came home Friday night. Saturday night rolls around, still no sign of him. Sunday morning comes, then Sunday afternoon, then the night, and still nothing. Quawan has not tried to call home. No one has seen him, and this is not normal behavior for 15-year-old Quawan. By all accounts, he's a good kid. In the meantime, Baldwin police say they have been hitting the streets all weekend, asking people the last time they've seen Quawan, where they last saw him. Police also say they call his phone all weekend. It's important to note, though, Baldwin police never ping his phone to try to locate it. Keep that in mind for later. Monday morning rolls around, then Tuesday, and Roxanne has not heard from her son in 4 days now. She doesn't feel like she's getting anywhere with Baldwin police or the St. Mary Parish Sheriff's Office, and she heads to the neighboring parish of Iberia. She goes straight to the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office and tells them her son has been missing all weekend and now into Tuesday. The Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office takes this extremely seriously from the moment Roxanne walks in their doors on Tuesday, November 3rd. The first thing they do is at 2:15 that Tuesday afternoon, they ping his phone, something Baldwin police never did, and immediately they get a hit. Quawan's phone pings in Lauraville. Lauraville is even smaller than the town of Baldwin. In fact, Lauraville's not even a town. It's considered a village as there are less than 1,000 people that live there. It's in Iberia Parish and there's a lot of farmland out there. And the weirdest thing is, Lauraville is 22 miles away from Baldwin. It's a 30-minute drive from Quawan's home, and Quawan is only 15 years old. He doesn't have a driver's license. He doesn't have a car. Deputies head out to Lauraville and find Quawan's phone where it pinged, but they never say exactly where his phone was found, just that it was found in the area of this mobile home park. Since it's still daylight, deputies decide to pull out their drones to do a search of the area. The area around this mobile home park has a lot of farmland and sugarcane fields, and what deputies find shocks every investigator to their core. At 6:43 that Tuesday evening, November 3rd, 4 days after Quawan first went missing, deputies find his body, naked, face down in a shallow ditch of a sugarcane field. That night, Roxanne has to do what no parent ever imagines. She's called in to identify her son's body. But what Roxanne sees makes her head spin with even more questions. A warning, what you are about to see is very graphic. Roxanne releases this photo of her 15-year-old son, Quawan, in the morgue. He has cuts and abrasions all over his face, especially on the left side. Some of the skin on his mouth and lips are missing. On the left side of his mouth, all of his teeth are exposed. It's really a graphic and brutal sight. And Roxanne says she thinks it looks like someone brutalized her son violently. She posts another photo comparing Quawan's body to the body of Emmett Till. He was a 14-year-old boy who was abducted, beaten, and lynched in 1955 in Mississippi after he was accused of flirting with a white woman. What Emmett Till and Quawan Charles both have in common is they were young and black. Now, Quawan's deformities could have been because of decomposition. He was missing for several days, but Roxanne argues that Quawan's body looks eerily similar to the murder of Emmett Till, and she fears her son may have also fallen victim to a brutal hate crime. She also hears, though, through the grapevine, that Quawan may have been picked up that Friday by one of his friends and the friend's mother. And the rumor is they're a white family. This, of course, only adds fuel to the fire. Later that week, Roxanne holds a vigil at their home, and you can hear the pain from losing her son like this in her voice.
I'm devastated. I never thought this would happen to my son. And I just want justice for my son. You cannot just take somebody's son, bring him to your house, and not be held accountable for them, because he was in her custody.
Know your children's friends very well. Always know where they're at.
Coming up, we learn more about the circumstances in which Quawan went missing. A few days after the vigil for Quawan, the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office told Quawan's mother they were investigating his death as a homicide. The Sheriff's Office would continue to investigate his death, while the Baldwin Police Department, who initially took the missing persons report, will investigate why he went missing from his home on Friday, October 30th. In this time, though, the Sheriff's Office allegedly tells Quawan's family it's looking like he may have drowned. But right off the bat, Quawan's family is not accepting that. They have all kinds of questions spinning in their heads. Why was he 22 miles from home? How did he drown in a ditch? Why was Quawan there in the first place? The Charles family gets those answers very soon. They find out that a 17-year-old named Gavin Irvin and his mother, Janet Irvin, picked Quawan up from his Baldwin home on October 30th, the Friday that Quawan went missing. Now, they live in a mobile home with Janet's boyfriend, Tyler the Gross, and guess where? Lauraville. Not only do they live in Lauraville, their home is less than a mile from where Quawan's body is found. Here's some of our coverage back in November of 2020 when we first learned this and mapped everything out. Take a look at how close this is.
15-year-old Quawan Charles went missing from his Baldwin home right here on October 30th. His parents say that his friends and his friend's mother picked him up in their car. Now, 3 days later, Charles's body was found right here, miles away in Lauraville, in this spot right here. This is where the parents say that the people who picked up Charles that night live.
You cannot just take somebody's son, bring him to your house, and not be held accountable for them, because he was in her custody.
Now, we do not know what happened the night of October 30th whenever Charles was picked up from his Baldwin home right here, but we do know that 3 days later on November 2nd, his body was found right here in that Lauraville canal near a sugarcane field, and this field lies just behind the home of the people that Charles' parents say picked him up and were the last people to see him that night.
So Quawan's body is found just blocks away from the Irvin's home, the last people Quawan was known to be with. Let's fast forward a little now to about a week after Quawan's body was found. Quawan's family says as far as they know, the Irvins have not been questioned. They are not in custody. A KLFY reporter, Danielle Johnson, goes out to the mobile home park where Gavin and Janet Irvin live with Janet's boyfriend. She talks to one of their neighbors. That man tells us the Irvins moved in here only about 3 months ago and they pretty much keep to themselves. The neighbor tells us he thinks the whole situation is strange and everyone in their mobile home park is looking at the Irvins kind of sideways. The neighborhood is questioning not only law enforcement, but also the Irvin family.
The way them laws handling that, look like they should have picked somebody up right there. Because, okay, let's just say you didn't do it. Y'all know something. Y'all went and picked that little boy up out there and brought him here.
The next day, November 11th, Kayla Fly receives this video. This video, taken from someone's cell phone, shows the Irvins packing all of their things into a U-Haul. They move. The neighbors never see them again. At this point, people start protesting. Not just Quawan's family, but the entire Baldwin community. People from all across Acadiana join these protests, and civil rights organizations join in. The new Black Panther Party, the NAACP, and the Village 337 stand right alongside the protesters, calling for justice and calling for the Irvins to be arrested. People believe something sinister may have happened after the Irvins picked Quawan up.
I ain't gonna let no racist turn me around, turn me around.
Justice for Quawan Child!
This family has been waiting far too long for the perpetrator of this heinous crime and her family to be in jail. I assure you, if Jamal Taylor picked up a 15-year-old white child and she turned up dead, I don't even know if I'd make it to the courthouse.
Everybody life matters, you know, but Quawan life was taken away recklessly, and it was sad, and we're gonna get justice.
Now how the sheriff gonna feel if all of us leave here and go to them redneck houses right now?
Some protesters marched through that neighborhood Wednesday night calling for a recall of elected law enforcement.
They let them get away, and we have a problem with that.
Protesters want transparency and accountability from elected officials. They feel Baldwin Police and the St. Mary Parish Sheriff's Office dropped the ball. They're angry the district attorney's office is not pressing charges. They're also fighting for equality between how cases involving white people and black people are treated. Right now, people just really don't trust law enforcement.
And no matter what they say, I believe in Jesus Christ. And whatever's done in the dark shall come to the light. We're not finished with them.
They didn't do what they could have done to save his life. And today we are exercising our First Amendment right to assemble against what they did or didn't do.
I mean, Black Lives Matter. You know, how often do we got to say that?
On November 12th, Quawan's family starts a GoFundMe. They want to do their own independent autopsy as they wait for the results of the Iberia Parish coroner's autopsy. Remember, the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office told Quawan's family they believe he may have drowned in that sugarcane field ditch. Their goal with this GoFundMe is only a few $1,000s. But in 1 month, they raised a whopping $300,000. Meanwhile, the president of the Louisiana NAACP, Michael McClanahan, starts calling for state police, the Department of Justice, and even the FBI to take over this investigation from IPSO and Baldwin Police. McClanahan says if the racial roles were reversed, if Quawan was a white kid and the Irvins were a black family, this investigation would be handled so much differently.
They would have, the state police would have come out of Baton Rouge, the local law enforcement, as well as the sheriff's office, all would have been there to arrest this family and to lock them up without a bond until the court dates. This may be above what the local law enforcement officers are capable of doing. You have grieving parents now that would never ever see this young man again. We would never know the type of life that he was going to grow up to be, because at 15, he never got to see any of it. We demand justice. The family demands justice, but human decency demands justice, and we're going to seek justice for the death of Quawan Charles.
After the break, we explore why it took 4 days just to ping Quawan's cell phone. Something that Quawan's family does not understand is why Baldwin Police never pinged Quawan's cell phone when they reported him missing. When Quawan's family alerted IPSO, the first thing they did was ping his cell phone. That is how they found Quawan's body within hours. I personally spoke with Baldwin Police and questioned why this did not happen. Baldwin Police told me they're a small department and they just do not have the capabilities. But we learned that turned out not to be necessarily true.
This idea that you need Stingray software is wrong, and that they don't know this is disappointing and concerning. That should have been done on October 30th, not November 3rd. Baldwin PD stated yesterday that they don't have the wherewithal or the technology to ping cell phones. Guess what? You don't need technology to ping cell phones. You do not need a warrant to ping a cell phone. You call the service provider and they ping it for you.
To test this, I called my own service provider.
If I was, per se, a police officer, and I called to request you guys to ping the location of this missing, you guys could do that.
Absolutely. There's a whole department.
My service provider told me there's an entire department set up for law enforcement to do just that.
Let's be clear. What they did was call Bobby's cell phone. By their own admission, we called the young man, we texted the young man. If that's all they can do, they are only doing what mom was already doing. You think Roxanne hadn't called him and texted him up to that point? So if that's all they can do, then it's supremely inadequate, and this is going to keep happening.
KLFY reporter Neil Zarang spoke with Baldwin Police Chief Harry Smith Jr. about why they did not ping the phone. I'll show you what he said in just a moment. The interview was done over a phone call because Chief Smith was never at the police station. His assistant police chief and even the mayor told me personally they had not seen the chief in 9 months. Here's what the chief said about their investigation when KLFY was finally able to get in contact with him.
My officer, when he initially took the report down, he took the missing person, the report and put it in the NCIC into the computer, and myself and the assistant chief let the officers know to kind of be on the lookout for the kid. Yeah, my officer that was working, he had, called his phone all weekend, was trying to call his phone that weekend.
Would you say that you're hard to find?
I'm not hard to find. I'm a phone call away.
Would you know why Iberia Parish was able to get sort of that location of the phone really quickly and y'all were working on it throughout the weekend?
I'm not too sure on that part. You probably would have to get permission from the family, from the parents.
So this is the person that's in charge of the investigation into Quawan's disappearance. No one has seen him in nearly a year. He didn't know his police department could ping Quawan's cell phone. On top of this, the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office, who is now handling the death investigation and who has said they're investigating his death as a homicide, still have not made an arrest. You take the fact that Quawan was black, the Irvins are white, things are chaotic. This investigation is chaotic. No one trusts law enforcement, and things are about to get worse. The community and Quawan's family begin questioning why an Amber Alert was never issued when Quawan was reported missing. The community believes if they would have found Quawan faster, he could have been found alive. Louisiana State Police jump in to clarify, and they say it was because Amber Alerts are only issued for abductions. Here's Trooper Thomas Gosson.
My understanding is that he left with a friend and a parent. That doesn't fit the criteria of an abduction, So the criteria must be that the child must be 17 years of age or younger. They must be an abduction. They have to, again, the circumstances surrounding the case have to point to serious bodily injury or death. It nowhere near met the criteria for that.
At the same time, Baldwin police, who initially received the missing persons report and began the search for Quawan, released a video. It's surveillance video taken from across the street from Quawan's home. It shows him sitting in his front yard at 1:37 p.m. on October 30th. A gray car passes. Quawan runs after it. The car and Quawan both disappear out of the frame. The car then pulls back into Quawan's home. And then Quawan, his friend, 17-year-old Gavin Irvin, and Gavin's mom, Janet, get out. All three of them go to Quawan's backyard. They play with Quawan's dog, then get back in the car and drive off. They are leaving the house by 1:45 p.m. So this all happens in less than 15 minutes. Baldwin police released this video and say it proves this was not an abduction. They're trying to take some of the heat off of their department for what the community views as screw-ups and the perceived lack of care they had for this case. Here's Baldwin Police Assistant Chief Samuel Wise.
My officer stayed in touch with the family the whole weekend. The father told me himself that my officer stayed in touch with him the entire weekend trying to locate his kid because we do care.
The day after this video is released, an attorney for Quawan's family speaks out. They are not happy. Attorney Trace Trishelle says Baldwin police releasing this video only proves that Baldwin police have not been transparent in this investigation, because Quawan's family sees this video for the very first time on the news. Keep in mind, Baldwin police never alerted us, the media, that Quawan was ever missing. But that's not necessarily abnormal. Missing people reports are filed almost every day across Acadiana. We typically are only alerted if authorities believe this missing person is in some kind of life-threatening danger. Regardless, we first heard anything about this case the day Quawan's body was found.
The video was released yesterday as what we believe some level of absolution for Baldwin PD. I think they want to send a message to the public that this was not an abduction. However, let's look at cases out of St. Mary Parish from 2020, 2019, and recent years. You've got Jessica Marie Rowe, an adult from Baldwin. You know what they did? They put it on the media. They blasted the story widely. Daniela Calindre, 17-year-old. They stated she's not in imminent danger, yet they still put it on the media on the same day. And guess what? She was found the same day. Logan Stevens, 14-year-old out of St. Mary Parish. They put it on the media. Emma Claire Dugas, Amelia Rubio, a 30-year-old. This list goes on and on. Why was Quawan Charles treated differently from all of the other children and adults who went missing out of this exact same parish? Explain that to me. The video released yesterday doesn't explain that problem. Here's the thing. No one knows Quawan better than his loved ones. So they could contribute to the investigation. And at the very least, from a basic humanity standpoint, they deserve to get evidence before the public gets that evidence. We should all be on the same team. The singular goal should be solving the death of Quawan Charles and fixing this so it doesn't happen again. But hiding behind protocol and hiding behind piecemeal pieces of evidence and videos, that's not going to get it. We need accountability and we need changes going forward. Why is Quawan Charles different? I'm serious. Why is Quawan Charles different from everybody else who went missing in St. Mary Parish?
After the break, Quawan's preliminary autopsy report is released. On November 13th, 10 days after Quawan's body is discovered in that sugarcane field ditch, the Iberia Parish Coroner's Office releases their preliminary autopsy report. The coroner, Dr. Carl Ditch, determines Quawan's preliminary cause of death is drowning. The coroner also finds evidence of muddy water in his airways. The report says there were no ante-mortem injuries found on Quawan's face during the autopsy. This means Quawan's face was not injured before he died. The coroner says the lacerations on Quawan's face were due to autopsy procedure, and other injuries on his face are likely from aquatic animal activity in the water. Dr. Carl Ditch says Quawan's manner of death, so how he died, whether it be accidental or homicidal or whatever it may be, is pending final autopsy results, the toxicology report, and law enforcement's investigation. So while the sheriff's office has said they are investigating his death as a homicide, the coroner says they cannot make that determination yet. Let's say this was not a homicide. How did Quawan end up drowning in a ditch? I went there myself, and I could easily stand in it and not have water above my head. It's only about 4 feet tall. Plus, the Charles family attorneys say the ditch only had a few inches of water when he was found. And the biggest question is, how did he end up there? Next week, we'll dive deeper into Quawan's case. The sheriff's office releases new information, and private audio recordings never intended to come to light. We'll see you next week.